breaking bounds beyond the skies. You and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Macdonald, and I'm going to be sharing with you some tips to help polish and revise and freshen up your resume so that with the new year, the new you can have a new resume. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about choosing a template, second, describing your skills and accomplishments, and three, about how to reassess your skills. So, the first thing that people often do when they go about revising their resumes, they think, oh, wow, why don't I choose a new template? And what's important to keep in mind is that how we process text is different from how we process graphics. And here we have four resume templates. I got these off of Microsoft Word. They're free templates available through Word, and they look very, very beautiful. But they they're graphics. They're not the best template, and I'm going to show you why. Right? They're designed as these graphical, beautiful images, but they're not necessarily the best templates for your resume. How we process text is different from how we process images. We focus our attention differently on the page when we're looking at text. We move our eyes across the text differently when there's text, and text elements focus our attention differently than images do. And I'm going to explain why. Here we have an eye tracking map that was done by Google. The warm red, yellow colors are where our eyes go first and where they spend the most time. The blue and the cooler colors are where our eyes go later and where they spend the least amount of time. You can see there's a real predominance in that upper left hand corner of where we look. People wanted to see when we look at other images, other searches, like what happens, and they find that when we skim in an F tracking shape, and again we have that predominance of the upper left corner. We skim down, we skim across. One group called the ladders wanted to see if this similar pattern holds for um, when people look at resumes. And so they took 30 professionals, they studied them for 10 weeks, doing eye tracking studies, seeing where they focused and how long they focused on different parts of the page. And this is what they found. They found a very similar eye tracking pattern with that F shape where they start in the upper left corner, they come across, they may skim down, and then up the right hand side, reconstructing the chronology that you have in your resume. They also found out that the time spent on a resume to see if a person was a fit or not was about 6 seconds. And 80% of that time was spent on six data points: your name and your last two position start and end dates. That's what they're looking for. So when a person is looking at your resume, they're specifically looking for specific information. And your job is to make it easy for them to find that information. And there are some things that you can do that will achieve that. First, you want to put the information and text where the reader's eye will be focusing. You want to avoid centering the text because we don't look there, right? So those orange areas are where our eyes go to most and stay the longest. That blue middle part is the part we look at last and we spend the least amount of time on. I have a resume here for you. This is from one of our MasterCard scholars, and you can see it's a lot of information, but it's very easy to process the information and to find what you're looking for, right? We easily find her last two positions. We see she just graduated from university. Remember those images I showed you at the beginning? Let's take a look at those and see what happens when we place our orange triangles over them, right? So you look at this, most of his experience and education is in the area where we don't look. Same one here. We have the contact information, we have his name, but in terms of his qualifications, it doesn't really fall in the area of the page that we're looking at. Same for this one. Her contact information, her education, her about me, her objective, but her experience falls outside of that key focus area. And same one with this one, right? Most of the key information we're looking for is outside of the area where our eyes tend to focus. So optimize the use of the upper left corner and do not center the text. You want to maximize the ability for people to find the information that they're looking for. I'm going to pause there while we go on to our next step. So now that we understand where we should put the text, let's talk about other elements that will help people find the text that they're looking for quickly. So we have an option of either full justifying your text or left justifying your text. Full justified means that it lines up evenly on both the left and right side. Left justified means you have a ragged right margin. And while the full justified may look more beautiful, the left justified is actually easier to skim because the spacing between the words are regular and it makes the skimming easier. You can see here the spacing between the words is it's a little irregular, it's a little different between them. So you want to left justify your text. Another element that can impact how people skim your text and how they find the text they're looking for is your use of white space. And that's determined by your use of headings. And here are the headings that you want to have. They focus the eye. You want to have a profile or a summary. You want to have a professional experience section, and you're going to put it in reverse chronological order. You're going to have education also in reverse chronological order. Put your most recent degree first. If you have any training or certifications, you can put it in this category. Volunteer experience may be another heading. And then you can have lastly a heading that may say additional information. Maybe the languages you speak, maybe the software you know, maybe hobbies that you have. So you want to make your headings stand out. And we normally do that by bolding and making them a little bigger than the regular text. You want to use one font only in your resume. So we've looked at the F shape of how we read horizontally across the upper section content. We've looked at how the headings are really important. And the last element we're going to talk about is what we call spotting, how our eyes look at what happens when our eyes see a big chunk of text and scan and look for something specific. So here we have education. This person has 2 degrees. There's no white space between them. Notice by adding white space between them, a blank line between them, it's much easier to process immediately. Oh, this person has 2 degrees. You can do the same thing with promotions. One of the first things that people are looking for when they look at your professional experience is to see whether or not you got a promotion. Here we have candidate A. They actually worked for the same company and they got a promotion, right? We see 2010 to 2012, 2012 to the present. If you change how you format it and put the company once, put the total time that they worked for them, and then the period of the different years, it's much easier to process like, oh, they got a promotion, right? So how you lay out the information will help people to see quickly what you're trying to convey. So use blank lines to create meaningful distinction between sections, especially to signal promotions and different academic degrees. Be consistent in your use of white space and blank lines. Use this time to learn about your toolbars and your format painter. Really get familiar with the format features of Word so that you're really good at formatting your resume. The next section we're going to talk about is the template selection. Other factors that are going to help you determine which template you should choose. And I'm going to pause here and go on and go on to the next video to show you that. So the third and final thing to think about as you're revising your resume and trying to figure out what new template you want to apply, there are other factors that will influence which template you choose and how you organize the information on your resume. And they are if you are a recent graduate, how many years of experience you have. If you're looking for a change, do you want to stay in the same industry or go into a different one? Think about your role. Do you want to stay in the same role or do you want to move into a different role? And uh, almost our last one. So, do you have unusual professional experience, and how do you highlight that? And lastly, resumes for academia. So, let's take a look. So, if you are a recent graduate, you want to put your education section first, because the first question people ask when they look at your resume is, why are you looking for a job? And if you put your education first, they'll see immediately, oh yeah, they just graduated. And with your education, you don't need to put the whole duration of when you went to school, just the date of graduation, the month and the year. The next factor is the years of experience. So if you have 3 to 5 years of experience staying in the same role or industry, this is how you would sequence your information. You would put your professional experience first, your education at the bottom, and the summary up top. And then with each of your positions, you would put your title and then your bulleted list that describes your skills and accomplishments. If you have 3 to 5 years experience and you're making a career transition, then you're going to have a slightly different template format. Here, I like this format a lot because you can, let's say, for example, you're an engineer and you have 3 to 5 years engineering experience and you want to move into a management position. What you can do is you can put your position, you can put your skills and accomplishments, and then here on the side, you can put the skills that contributed to your success. So maybe it was leadership or management or whatever those qualities might be. And you can do that. So even though it's an engineering position, you can pull out and focus attention on the managerial skills that you used in that position. The next one that we'll talk about is if you're entrepreneurial, re entering the workforce, or if you have unusual professional experience. And here we have a 2 page column that I like a lot because you have a lot of flexibility with the headings and a lot of flexibility about how you lay out the information. For example, maybe someone has a lot of consulting projects. They could put consulting projects there. And then you could put the consulting project client and the location and describe the project. I'm going to show you 2 examples of this type of resume that I think illustrate how versatile and how powerful it can be. So this student, he had a time gap in his resume because of the Libyan Arab Spring. During that time, he created the first ever private radio station in Benghazi. And we couldn't figure out how to put it on a traditional resume, so we put it in this format, and it worked really beautifully. Really highlighted some of his unusual and innovative experience. This example on the right, this person had a very traditional extent of work experience going from 1994 up to the present. But in addition to that, he had some consulting projects as an interior design consultant, an exterior design consultant, and he won awards. And so those awards are listed here, and that was a nice way to profile them. The final type of resume template is if you're looking for academic positions, a CV, a curricula vitae. These are longer. The longer the better. They can be really as long as you need. The the formatting and it doesn't change, and the formatting is very simple, and you put the education, awards, teaching experience, related experience, publications and papers, right? It's a very traditional format and it doesn't change, so you don't need to worry about changing the size of your headings or anything. It's in one font, one font size. So think about, I'm going to come back to my one up top. So think about where you are here among these different options and choose the template that will best help you profile where you're at in your career and where you want to be headed to next. So now that you've identified a template that best suits your background and goals, I recommend that you start filling in the core information: university, graduation dates, location, companies, job titles, right? You can start filling in that information. And then you're ready to go on to the next step, which is describing your skills and accomplishments. I'm going to give you a process for how to do this, and then I'm going to give you some tips for how to reassess and rethink about your skills. So, hiring managers, when they look at your resume, they want to know, can you do the job? Do you have the requisite education? Do you have the minimum years of professional experience? Do you have experience in the role you're applying for? And do you have the skills necessary to do the job and to grow in the job? And skills are different from responsibilities. A lot of times when people work on their resume, they'll copy their job description and they'll just copy and paste that into their resume. But job descriptions usually have responsibilities, not skills. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what the difference is. And I find it helpful working with my clients that it's helpful for you to think about the position you're writing. Think about like the job you have that you're writing about in your resume, and think about what are the things you're most proud of. List them. And then think about what about you made you successful in contributing to this success. So, for example, maybe you increased sales. How did you do it? Was it because you were analytical? You used your analytical skill? Was it because you used your interpersonal skills? Or was it a strategy? Was it a strategic skill? Right? You can see there are three very different ways of describing how you increase sales. And so how you describe how you did it is gonna really what makes your resume stand out and make your resume effective and powerful for you. The process that I recommend for doing this is for you to think about first what what are your tasks and responsibilities in your role? What things were you proud of? What are some things that you were really proud accomplishments or general things? Then think about what are the skills you use to achieve them, and then you're ready to write your skill scope and impact statement. And I find it helpful to walk through this process with an example to help make it more concrete and tangible for you. So take the example of a wait staff. A lot of people have experience either being a wait staff or they know what wait staff people do. And you can see here are the responsibilities: greet and serve customers, cleaned surfaces, took food orders, delivered food, bussed tables, did a little bit of everything, right? Those are their responsibility. And maybe these are their sources of pride that they got to know their customers, they enjoyed having them, they liked being busy, that the restaurant was always really clean and they always passed food inspections. They loved working with their fellow employees, really a great team environment, and they liked being busy. So, what skills might that be? So, this one might be their interpersonal skills, and they may be results driven. Um, right? And so think also about scope, like how many customers would you serve per day? The cleaning, high standards, attention to detail, responsible. Team player, collaborative, strong initiative, and then did a little bit of everything. There may be management skills, there may be communication skills. And so then we take those and we develop those into a skill scope and impact statement, right? So provided excellent customer service, average 50 to 100 per day in fast-paced environment. Maintain compliance with health and cleanliness standards regarding food storage, cleaning of surfaces, floors, and equipment. Collaborated effectively with fellow team members, coordinating tasks, proactively assisting as needed. Manage multiple demands from customers, chefs, and other wait staff, maintaining positive work environment in high stress environment. Right? See how that works? So you can go from your responsibilities to what you're proud of, identifying the skills you use to be proud of these things, and then develop your impact statement. Let's look at another one, an example for retail. Right? Working in a store, greet and serve customers, deal with customer complaints, set up displays, data entry. Source of pride could be familiarity with company's products, really good at helping customers find what they need. If their customer complaints, really good at finding win-win solutions. Some retail folks are really creative in how they set up their displays. There may be some data entry work of how to use SAP or other software tools. And then we can see the skills. So interpersonal skills, results driven, problem solving, maybe communication also in that one with customer complaints, strategic, creative, management skills. And then you can develop the skill scope impact statement, engage with customers. I like this technique where you do colon, and then you can kind of list out what they did, answered questions and concerns, provided information about gear, semicolon, resulted in high level of customer satisfaction and complaint mitigation. Addressed and resolved quality concerns and warranty issues, assisted in strategic planning and setup of merchandise display, managed and tracked orders and customer inquiries applying SAP-based inventory management system. You see how it works. So we go from responsibilities to what you're proud of what you did. Identify what are the skills about you that contributed to those successes, and then develop your impact statement. So that gives you some ideas about if you need to revamp how you're talking about your skills, shifting from responsibilities to skills and outcomes. We want skills, outcomes, and scope. Our last part, reassessing your skills. So now that you're thinking about your skills a little different, we have a wonderful self-assessment tool called Via Character Strengths. It's free and it's on the website. It only takes about 10 minutes. It's just a wonderful little survey. It'll give you 25 total themes rank ordered. The top 5 are strengths that you use frequently and consistently. And this is what I love most about this survey. The bottom 5 are strengths used when facing crisis and challenges. Here is an example of the strengths. So fairness, hope, humility, humor, love of learning, teamwork, zest, social intelligence. So taking it may give you some extra insight into who you are and what are some of the skills that have contributed to your success. So for example, teamwork is one of them. Team player, socially responsible, loyal, right? So if teamwork is your skill, you may have words like collaborated, right? Collaborated will probably come in. You may say as part of 5-person team did da 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 da. Curiosity. If curiosity is it, right? You can show how you used your curiosity. Leverage companies' expertise by collaborating with technical staff to highlight and promote best practices. Right? This was a woman. Her company had some interesting technology that she was curious about how people were using it. And it really led to new directions in her work. Creativity, clever, original, adaptive, problem solver, right? You can see some examples. Led and directed all design related and creative projects for agency of 100 employees. You can see clearly the creativity there. When you're writing about your skills, keep in mind this list of action verbs for persuasive resumes, and we'll make this available to you on the chat forum. But think about you can categorize it and think about your skills in terms of categories like leadership, communication skills, research skills, technical skills, teaching skills, creative skills, clerical skills, right? So, and then we have verbs that show accomplishment: achieved, convinced, expanded, improved, increased, pioneered, reduced, resolved, strengthened, upgrade. Wonderful to have a wonderful list like this to help you if you're searching for the right word and you're not finding it. So this can help jog your memory. So next steps. You've chosen your template. You understand why the template is going to help the reader find the information they're looking for quickly. Take the assessments and reflect on which skills you think have contributed to your major professional accomplishments. And that concludes our presentation, looking at how to choose a template that's going to work for you, how to convert responsibilities to a powerful impact statements that show your potential, reviewing your self-assessment tool to reflect on what and how you want your resume to showcase your strengths, and keep in mind those strong action verbs. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next event.
Beyond the skies, you and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.